My name's Caitlin Joshua. I am the faith organizer for the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. Reside in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been here my whole life, probably not going anywhere, and super excited to be doing this voter registration training with you all in hopes that you can carry some of this knowledge over to friends and families and also be able to get them out to register others to vote. And so we can go ahead and get started. If y'all want to just drop your name in the chat so I can know who's on the line. And if you may have a question, I'll be able to call on you, but I'm going to share my screen here and we will rock and roll. All right, so as discussed, this is the voter registration training powered by Power Coalition, Power Coalition for Equity and Justice, statewide civic engagement table, but just simply put, we are the folks at 365 get people out registered to vote, help them understand their importance of voting, and then most importantly, getting them in the act of voting and like being active voters or what we call power voters. And so we'll discuss that during this entire presentation. And so extremely busy season, right? So it is, I think, right at 55 days till the election, November 8th. And we're going to go through some of the important dates that are coming up that you need to remember, especially if you're going to be actively registering people to vote. They'll ask you this all the time. Essentially, we have our general register to vote link at the top of this PowerPoint. And yes, everyone will get this. So don't worry, you don't have to memorize all of this. But you want to check folks' voter registration status. You want to register them online or print out paper registration form. We're going to go through both today. The last day to register to vote in person by mail or at the OMB office is October 11th. The last day to register to vote online is October 8th.
Go ahead, Caitlin, sorry.
Right. No worries, not at all. So got a few more folks joining here, no biggie. So again, we want to make sure that this election season, we are being intentional about registering folks to vote. We do that by checking their voter registration status first before we do anything. If they are previous voters, or if they think they may have voted in an election prior to the time that we're registering them to vote, we want to make sure that they have that status updated. So in order to do that, you can register online, or you can print out a paper registration form at govote.com, which is our official website. You're going to hear a lot today. The last day to register to vote in person by mail or at the Office of Motor Vehicles office is October 11th. The last day to register to vote online is October 18th. The early voting period, which we like to tell folks the earlier the better, is October 25th through November 1st. And this is with the exception of Sunday, October 26th. The polls are open 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then, of course, you can find your polling place, which is super important when we're out registering people to vote, which is voterportal.sos.la.gov. Again, everyone will get a copy of this PowerPoint, so no need to memorize. It's also available on our website, powercoalition.org, as well as our social media. In order to find out if you are eligible to vote by mail, you want to do bit.ly /vote by mail power. The last day to request a vote by mail ballot is November 4th by 4:30. Last day to return a vote by mail ballot is November 7th by 4:30 p.m. Election day, the most important day, right, is November 8th. Polls are open 6 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. Learn what you need to bring on voting day by going to pcej.org. There you can find literally the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of going to your polling location and casting your vote. So let's get started and talk about some of our other important dates. So the Congressional Open General Election is going to be December 10th, 2022. Again, the dates are very similar, but you want to pay attention to this because they are also very different. So the last day to register to vote in person by mail or the OMB office is November 9th for that Congressional Open General Election. The last day to register to vote online is November 9th. The early voting period also after the early voting period of our primary election in November, which is going to be November 26th through December 3rd. Polls are open 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. again. We can find your polling location at voterportal.sos.la.gov. And of course, you can find out if you're eligible to vote by mail by going to bit.ly /vote by mail power. The last day to request that ballot for that open general election for the congressional election is going to be December 6th by 4:30 p.m. Last day to return the ballot is going to be December 9th by 4:30 p.m. And then the election day for that open general election, congressional open general election, is going to be December 10th. Again, all of this is available on our website at powercoalition.org. You can also find it on our social media. And we do have Texting Tuesdays every single week at 6 p.m. for folks that are interested in getting your church involved, getting your volunteer group involved, and really getting out the vote and letting people know of these upcoming elections. So let's talk about the importance of voting, because before we get started, I think that's important to highlight, as we are living in a time where a lot of issues are flying and a lot of folks are kind of being pulled into the electoral process. And we want to make sure that they feel supported, but then most importantly, understand why their vote is important. So why should we do it? Why should we participate in the voting process in general? Let's talk about 5 reasons today. So why we encourage folks to vote or why it matters is coming up next. First and foremost, your vote makes a difference. We've seen this in local municipal elections as recent as earlier this year with special elections as it relates to judicial elections, where votes have been decided, or elections have been decided by 5 votes or 1 vote, which is just wild. So we know that if you're that 1 person or that 2 persons that actually takes out time to go and cast your vote, you do decide the election. So it might not always feel like it, or it won't feel like your vote will matter, but it will make a difference, especially in our local and state elections. Secondly, the winner of the election will represent you anyway. And so for me, like, this is the one that's most relative to me, or resonates with me the most, is obviously the person that's going to be making decisions for me and my family or my community. I want them to know what I prefer. I want them to know kind of like how I feel, and, maybe even how I voted in terms of voting for that candidate. So if it's an endorsement, don't think of it as an endorsement, it's a preference. Number 3, it's never been easier to register to vote. And I think this is so true. In 2022, even there are quite a few barriers for underserved populations and folks of color. There are so many ways to plug in, making sure people register to vote, including things like what we're doing today, which is online, just educating people about the importance of voting. And then most importantly, giving you all the tools and resources to register other people. And so most states offer the ability to register to vote online. Process, it says on here, it takes less than 5 minutes. It takes more like 2. And you can vote in U.S. elections if you are a U.S. citizen, you meet your state's residency requirements, and you are 18 years old on or before the election day. So elections affect your life every single day, right? There's not a single aspect of your daily life that isn't affected by government, whether it is public safety or transportation or health or the education system. All of that boils down to a vote. The roads you drive on, the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, the schools that teach your children, and the parks you visit are all a function of government. Number 5, people fought for the right to vote, right? And they fought for it for a reason. We get it. Life is complicated and it's a struggle to fit it all into your schedule. But voting is one of the few chances that you can make a direct impact on your community. And it's just so easy, right? So let's talk about what's on the ballot statewide. So right now we know that we have a few elections within the state of Louisiana that is going to require all of us, and of course going to require that is going to be on all of our ballots, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so that first one is going to be the constitutional amendment number 7. Act 246, voted on in 2022. HB 298 is what most of us on this call may know this as. It provides relative to the prohibition of involuntary servitude and administration of criminal justice. What does that mean? Do you support an amendment to prohibit the use of involuntary servitude except as it applies to the otherwise lawful administration of criminal justice? So what does constitutional amendment number 7 mean? A yes vote supports removing language from the state constitution that allows involuntary servitude, so serving someone, as a punishment for a crime. Adding language to say that the section of the Constitution prohibiting slavery and involuntary servitude does not apply to the otherwise lawful administration of criminal justice. So the Constitution would be amended to say slavery and involuntarily servitude are prohibited, which is something that some may consider positive, right? The 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, ratified in 1865, abolished slavery and involuntary servitude in the United States, except as punishment for someone convicted of a crime. This amendment will reshape prison labor and make all work in prisons voluntary. The importance of the Public Service Commission. Before I move to that, I do want to pause for a second and go back. Constitution Amendment number 7, if you guys want to just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down in the chat, then that would kind of give me an idea as to if that makes sense to you. A lot of our organizations are referring to Constitutional Amendment number 7 as slavery on the ballot. And so this is something that I do implore everyone to read up on. And I'll give you all a second to kind of give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. While I'm waiting on that, what else is on the ballot statewide? The importance of the Public Service Commission. Now, I'll be honest with y'all, before this year, I myself didn't really know what the PSC was or like what it did. Even if I did know what it was, I wasn't really worried about it until it became super relative to my life, right? And so Louisiana has what's called 5 elected commissioners from 5 districts across the state. The commissioners serve 6-year terms with a 3-term limit. That can add up to 18 years, which makes this a very powerful position to have. As a constitutionally created and independent elected body, commissioners have complete and absolute power to take action to ensure safe, reliable, and reasonably priced public utilities, y'all. So we're talking about utilities. They are not at the direction of the governor or legislature. They have no one to report to other than voters who elected them into office in the first place. With 2 of the 5 seats up for election this November, we have a chance to change Louisiana's clean energy future and work towards achieving climate goals. Now's the time to make that change happen by voting in commissioners in districts 3 and 4 that are focused on moving us closer to where we need to be. Public Service Commission District 3. So this is our breakdown, y'all. We've got number 48, Lambert C. Bossier, which is he is residing in District 3. I won't go through the demographics unless y'all need me to. Number 49, Willie Jones. Number 50, Devontae Lewis. Number 51, Gregory Manning. And number 52, Jesse T. Thompson. And again, our ballot is available on powercoalition.org, and everyone that has joined today will be able to get a copy of that. What's on the ballot statewide continued. So we have our U.S. Senate election. The Senate has 100 members, 2 from each state, who are elected to serve for a term of 6 years. Senators must be 30 years of age, U.S. citizens for at least 9 years, and residents of the state they represent. Similar to the House of Representatives, the Senate votes on bills, resolutions, motions, amendments, nominations, and treaties in a variety of ways. The Vice President of the United States serves as President of the Senate and may cast the decision vote in the event of a tie in the Senate race. The Senate also tries impeachment cases for federal officials referred to it by the House. This year, we have quite a ballot. We've got number 1, Beryl A. Billio, number 2, Gary Chambers, number 3, Devin Lance Graham, number 4, Zan Jean, number 5, John Kennedy, number 6, W. Thomas LaFontaine Olson, number 7, Bradley McMorris, number 8, Vinny Mendoza, number 9, Luke Mixon, number 10, Salvador Rodriguez, number 11, Aaron C. Siegler, number 12, Sarita Stive, and number 13 is Thomas Wynn. So these are your U.S. Senate candidates on the November ballot. Let's talk about the U.S. House of Representatives. So each U.S. House representative is elected to a 2-year term, serving the people of a specific congressional district, They must be 25 years of age, a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years, and a resident of the state they represent. Representatives introduce bills and resolutions, offer amendments, and serve on committees. The House has several powers assigned exclusively to it, including the power to initiate revenue bills, impeach federal offices, and elect the president in the case of the Electoral College tie. The House of Representatives is made of 435 elected members, divided among the 50 states in proportion to their total population. In addition, there are 6 non-voting members representing the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and 4 other territories of the United States. The presiding officer of the chamber is the Speaker of the House, elected by the representatives. This person is the 3rd in line of the succession to the presidency. Who we've got running up this year, we've got U.S. Representative, 1st Congressional District, number 14, Katie Darling. Number 15 on the ballot is Howard Kearney, and number 16 is Steve Scalise. U.S. Representative, 2nd Congressional District is number 17, Troy A. Carter, number 18, Dan Lux. And then our U.S. Representative, 3rd Congressional District is going to be number 19, Clay Higgins, number 20, Holden Holgat, number 21, Leslie LeBlanc, number 22, Tia LeBrun, number 23, Guy McLendon, Number 24, Thomas Lane Payne. Number 25, Jacob Jake Shaheen. And number 6 is Gloria Wiggins. And I see in the chat some folks know folks. Cool. So U.S. Representative, 4th Congressional District is Mike Johnson. He's unopposed. U.S. Representative, 5th Congressional District is number 27, Oscar Omar Dantzler. Number 28 is Alan Guillory. Number 29, Walter Earl Huff. Number 30, Julia Letlow. Number 40 is Hunter Poulin. U.S. Representative, 6th Congressional District, and I promise y'all this last one. Number 32, Ryan Belzer. Number 33, Rufus Holt Craig. Number 34, Garrett Graves. So let's get into our frequently asked questions about voter registration now that we are familiar with the ballot. But before we do that, I'll pause for questions. Does anyone have any thus far of what we've discussed? And just to give you a recap, we've done the U.S. Representative Congressional Districts, as well as House of Representatives. And we also talked about the Public Service Commission race. And feel free to just thumbs up or thumbs down or come off mute if you have a question. All right, I've got a brilliant group. So let's get into frequently asked questions about voter registration. So how can folks check their voter registration status and update their address? This is a common question we get in the field every time we're doing voter registration drives. What you want to do, you want to check your voter registration, update your address, and find out more on govote.com. You can find out your party affiliation, your parish, your ward, your precinct, your status, where to vote, also known as your polling location, your sample ballot, and even more on that website. Additionally, you can use the GoVote app, which I advocate for. It's right on your phone, super easy, first name, last name, zip code, or date of birth, and then immediately your information pops up. If anything needs to be changed, I would use a laptop and do the govote.com just because it's a little faster and takes you right to the Secretary of State's website. Applications must include, so let's get into it, a current street address. It cannot be a previous, and P.O. box addresses are not accepted. A Louisiana driver's license or Louisiana special ID card is accepted. If not, the last 4 digits of the Social Security number may be used. Here's a power note. Applicants can also attach one of the following items: the current and valid photo identification card, current utility bill, bank statement, government check, paycheck, or other government document that shows the name and address. How can someone obtain a special ID? The non-real ID. The Office of Motor Vehicles will provide a special card, non-real ID, free of charge for voter identification purposes. For more information on this, you can visit public.powerdms.com, and we will link that information on social media in our box where this video is going to go. And then also for folks joining the call, you'll be able to get it access it from the PowerPoint. If a student is registering with you and they have a P.O. box address, what can they do? So a lot of times with us being in a college town with Southern University, LSU, and BRCC out here, I know I've got some folks in Lafayette, Shreveport, and Monroe on the call, and you all also have colleges within your cities. What you're going to want to do is, if the applicant is a voter who lives on a college campus, they can register using their university mailing office address. It needs to be exact though. So the format example would be the first and last name of the voter. Like let's say it's 101 Student Union Boulevard or building, excuse me, box number, etc. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70803. You want to get this exactly to how the school identifies the address as. You don't want the student to make it up or kind of just guess their dorm information. Please make sure you verify this before actually turning it in. Otherwise, it will be thrown away. Louisiana residents as young as 17 can complete a voter registration application. However, residents as young as 16 can register to vote in person at Register of Voters office or Louisiana Office of Motor Vehicles. A voter must be 18 years old by election day in order to participate in the electoral process, though. In order to vote, they must be 18 on election day. Can formerly incarcerated folks vote? And so y'all, this is so extremely important with us being a state with such a high formerly incarcerated population. We want to make sure we get this right. If in Louisiana, if a person is not currently serving time in prison, including if they are currently on probation or parole, they can exercise their right to vote, which is just awesome. No matter what their prior conviction is, the answer is yes. Formerly incarcerated people can vote. So since March 1st, 2019, any Louisianian who is 1, off of probation or parole, or 2, has been on parole for 5 or more years, or 3, is currently on probation, they can absolutely vote. In order to register, they will need a voter eligibility form obtained from their local probation and parole office, a completed voter registration form, and then of course that valid identification card or driver's license. This process, y'all, it has to be thorough. We have to follow all 3 steps. So if you do need help, you can reach out to powercoalition.org, find one of the organizers as myself, and we will be happy to help you in real time. And you can also visit our partners at Vote, which is vote-nola.org. They've also done a ton of work to be able to make this come into fruition, and they're all equipped to be able to register formerly incarcerated people to vote. What are the rules on those with felony convictions registering and voting in Louisiana? Those who are currently awaiting trial in jail and not yet have been convicted are eligible to register and vote. So Louisiana does allow returning citizens who are no longer incarcerated with or without parole or probation to vote, provided that they have been out of prison for more than 5 years. They are eligible to register to vote after reaching a 5-year period. So that's my long answer, but my short answer to this, y'all, would be if you're unfamiliar or you're still not comfortable with the rules on those with felony convictions registering to vote, again, reach out. Like, we'll help you in real time and be able to kind of navigate the situation. But those who are currently awaiting trial in jail and not yet have been convicted are still eligible to register and vote. So do want to reiterate that. Can I get incentives for registering folks to vote or for voter registration? No, incentives cannot be given to encourage people to register to vote. So like, let's say we're out like at a church event or a high school voter registration week across the state, and we want to like encourage students or folks that are voting for the first time maybe to vote. It is absolutely legal in the state of Louisiana to be able to do that. All we can do is like get them excited, help them feel comfortable with sample ballots, and then most importantly, reassuring them that their information will get to the appropriate person so that they can register to vote. So the voter registration how-to. So this is a demonstration. So how do I register someone to vote? It's super simple. We can do it in 2 ways. We can do online, and everyone will have access to the QR code. They can go to the Rock the Vote website, and I'll show y'all what that looks like. As you can see here on the screen, it takes you right here. You entered an email address, you enter a zip code, and you hit next step. Super simple. Let's see. All right, let me just catch us up here. Okay, so if you go to that Rock to Vote website, immediately it just asks you for 2 simple things. You're able to find that in real time and register someone to vote, or they can do it right in front of you, which is super simple. We'll just go back to our slide here, y'all. Sorry, I hit something. Okay, let's see. So voter registration how-to. So we can either use that QR code, which is available on any Power Coalition, paraphernalia, cups, frisbees, we've got it all. But then also it's available on our website. So you can like literally pull it up on your phone and it's right there. You can also use the Rock the Vote website, which I just showed us how to do, and then immediately hit next step and get someone rocking and rolling. Things to remember: an applicant must include a current address, a legal address, or a physical address is a better word. PO boxes are not allowed. All online applicants must include a Louisiana driver's license number or Louisiana special ID card. Again, that special ID card is just like what we talked about. You go to the Office of Motor Vehicles, you say, look, I don't need a license, I just need to be able to register to vote, and they're going to provide you with a card. What if someone does not have a Louisiana ID? Again, complete the form on rockthevote.com, choose I do not have a Louisiana state identification card or Louisiana driver's license. The person registering will have to provide at least the last 4 digits of the social security number if issued. If the applicant doesn't have an ID or a social security number, then the applicant has to either attach a current and valid photo ID, a copy of the current utility bill, a bank statement, government check, paycheck, and other government document that shows the name and address of the applicant. You want to print this form so you can mail it to the local registrar office of voters, or register of voters office, excuse me. What if there isn't a printer available? So good question. So you can have the person still complete the form on Rock the Vote per the previous instructions. They can download the form, which I do mainly, by clicking print your form, and then a PDF of the form will open on a new page. You download the PDF, then you can email it to the completed form to yourself, CC that person. I do this all the time, especially at church events when we have like a flow of people and you can't really print everything, or that we don't have a printer on hand. You'll definitely need to print it later and remind yourself to do that, so that you can deliver it to the Register of Voters office or mail it to the office. Once you have printed a copy of the completed form, mail the form to your local Register of Voters office or the Secretary of State's office ASAP. You can also have the applicant use a paper form, which we always have on hand. You want to make sure that whenever you're doing voter registration, that you don't forget that. And you should be able to access that from GoVote or rockthevote.com. So a power note. So using the Rock the Vote online form, the person who conducted the registration drive is responsible for mailing the applications. Let me say that again. So the person who conducted the registration drive, so the Power Coalition, your church in partnership with the Power Coalition, whatever organization you may be able to be working with, you want to make sure that there's one designated person to get all the forms, because it has to be submitted in a timely manner. The most important thing to note with the paper forms is that the forms must be submitted actually within 30 days of receiving it. Otherwise, it's null and void. And that is the last thing we want to happen, right? We've got a host of filled out voter registration forms and we can't turn them in, and people can't vote. So how do I register someone to vote? Again, if someone does not have a Louisiana ID, a best practice is to use the paper application and mail it off. After the paper voter registration form is complete, you fill out the Power Intake Google form, which again, everyone will get a copy of that link. And then that way we can kind of keep up with all the forms that we've submitted, and we know on voting day, there should be no issues, right? And additionally tells us how many folks we're registering in our community, which is pretty exciting. So that paper form looks just like this. I was looking for it for y'all, so I'm glad we found it. Paper form looks as it does on the screen in the center. The intake form is on the right-hand side, and then you're done. Louisiana voter registration form. I do want to go through this real quick with y'all, just because a lot of times I'll get forms from folks, volunteers, folks within the community that are helping us out, and I'll get them back and they're not fully submitted or completed, excuse me, and I literally can't submit it. And so what you don't want to happen is like have any of these highlighted sections blank. We never want to leave it blank, even if it says like, and I'll go through this as well, if it's different, I still like to add it and write it and have people this entire thing filled out, right? So eligibility, one, you want to make sure they're a US citizen or eligible to vote in the United States of America. You want to check off yes. Will you be 18 years of age on or before Election Day? Obviously, you want to check off yes if that is true. The name is their last name. So for me, it'd be Joshua, first name Caitlin. You want to have both of those filled out. I don't mind adding a maiden name or a middle name if it makes sense. Again, I just like to have as many things filled out as possible. So residence address, you want to make sure that this is their current address that they're currently staying at, not someone else's, filled out with the city and town, as well as the state and zip code. The mailing address, I also like to make that, even though I know it's duplicate, writing it for number 2, but then also number 3, but it just kind of covers us, making sure that everybody has filled out every single part of that form. Number 4, date of birth. That has to be filled out in its entirety. Social security number. We'll get to it if they don't have one. But for now, if they have a social security number, fill that out in its entirety. The sex that their sex that they were born as, you want to put male or female. Party affiliation, add that. Place of birth, add that. City and town, parish and county, state, country, USA. And race is optional. Just want to put that out there. But again, I like to add as much information on here as possible and have this completely filled out. What you don't want to happen is, again, reiterating this, you get the form back from someone, you're looking through it and there's blank spaces and you just let it go. No, you want to tell them, hey, like, look, I think this is going to be denied, or I think we want to have as much info as possible. Can you add this? Reason for application, you can put that at the top if you'd like. It does give them like some clarity as to what exactly you're trying to achieve. Is that new voter registration or just updating? Again, number 10, this is going down that same form, y'all. It's lengthy, but 2 minutes, literally. So mother's maiden name is going to go in number 10. Email address, I do like to have that. We don't have it highlighted, but it just kind of gives us like correspondence between the person that we've applied or helped apply to register to vote. And then if they have any questions or something goes wrong, they can reach out to you, right? That Louisiana driver's license is going to go at number 13. You're going to put that in its entire number. Don't leave any numbers off. Again, if they don't have social security number, which I believe was number 8, yes, number 8, then look at number 13. You can add that special ID card that they've received from the voter registration office, or excuse me, the Office of Motor Vehicles. The last residence address, you do want to add that. Some people have left that blank. I wouldn't. The only time we never have to add anything there is if they don't have a last address, like never moved in their lives, then you can leave that blank. Place of last registration, absolutely need this, especially for college students. So make sure that's on there. Former registered name, if that's different. Of course, you want number 18, the applicant signature. Want to make sure that it's filled out fully and dated. And then last but not least, that witness part. And oh my God, y'all, I have to tell y'all this. The other day, I got some forms back from some volunteers, and like we literally had to go back to folks because the witness signature, it was a signature on 19 and for the first and second signature, which has to be different, and it cannot be the applicant signature. Let me reiterate that. But the reason we have to throw it away is a lot of times people think it's asking for us to date it in this next section here. It's asking for you to print your name. So that witness number 1 signature needs to have that same printed name in that adjacent area, and same for witness number 2. It has to be the signature and then again that printed name, not the date. So that will get our application thrown away as well. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So again, another power note, paper voter registration forms must be dated at least 30 days before the election day. Anything after that, unfortunately, they will not be able to participate in that upcoming election. When you receive a paper form, you want to enter the voter's information into the power intake form. When you click this link, it goes straight to a form that looks just like this screen here, but we have it already up. And that intake form just has email address. It's going to add, I think it asks like one more thing, I think first name, last name. And then that's it. You're going to hit, enter, submit, and then you're done. Just helps us keep track. And then of course, paper voter registration forms must be post dated again 30 days before that election date in order for that voter to vote in that upcoming election. Applicants will receive a verification mailing or voting ID card within 30 days of eligibility. Determination is by the registrar of voters. So at any given time, they can call and say, hey, this was wrong or this was missing. And then of course, we would have to do that follow up to make sure that that person gets whatever help they need to make sure that that's right. So tips for voter registration. First and foremost, I do want to point out, and this is more so a tip about kind of like we've registered people to vote. They're in the process of getting geared up to vote, and we just need them to be knowledgeable about their rights at the polls. I will equip each and every one of you with this awesome resource when we end today of the Bill of Rights, which is on the Secretary of State's website. It has like the do's and don'ts of voting, what to bring, the help that you can get if you are considered disabled or considered needing special help or special in a special circumstance to be able to get some help at the voting polls. That is within our Bill of Rights in the state of Louisiana, which is pretty cool. It also talks about like how, let's say you have an issue going on and you've gotten to the polling location and someone is saying that you're not registered or your last name is wrong or something else is wrong. It teaches you like your rights on how to not leave and how to make sure that you're staying and you're calling the 1-866 vote number to talk about the situation and kind of work through the Secretary of State's office to be able to vote in real time. So that link is super helpful and I will certainly send that out. places you should do voter registration events. And so this is my favorite part because we do a lot. As you can see, we're all like super happy because we love doing this work and being able to get our folks, especially our folks of color, registered to vote in the state of Louisiana. We do a lot of churches, a lot of faith-based organizations and faith-based congregations will reach out. No matter the religious affiliation, it's always just super exciting to be able to get in there and just register as many of church members or mosque members, et cetera, to be able to register to vote. So we do churches, businesses. We always ask for permission, of course. Make sure that we can get out there and it's okay and compliant with the business. And usually it's a yes, and of course, because Power Coalition is a 501c3 organization, we are able to do that without being partisan. So it makes it real easy for us to be able to register folks to vote. Schools. So actually next week in Baton Rouge, we're going to be registering as many high school seniors within East Baton Rouge Parish School System to be able to register to vote. So we'll be hitting up the high schools. If there's a high school in your area and you need support on getting that off the ground, I'll leave my information in the chat so that you guys can have that and we can get some folks registered in your area as well. We do festivals and clubs. So this year, I think we did Bella Noche, which is super cool, out in Baton Rouge. And so always looking for unique and exciting places to meet people where they're at and make sure that we create the perfect space for them to be able to register to vote and make it convenient, right, and fun. And here are just some pictures from this previous year. This was last weekend, LSU versus Southern, which was so much fun. We all had a great time, despite the heat. You didn't even remember it was hot outside. It was so fun. So we've built in some time for questions at this point, and so I'm going to stop sharing here to give us an opportunity to have some dialogue. I know that was a lot, so I want to make sure that folks feel supported and have what they need to be able to register folks to vote, because this is go time. Like I said, I think it's 55 days or 56, something like that. So our election day on November 8th, and then we've got a little bit more time for the December 10th open congressional race. And I do see Amanda's question in the chat. Amanda said, how can we get some swag here in Lafayette? Between all of us organizers of the Power Coalition, one of us can certainly bring that to you or meet you. So I'm going to put my info in the chat for you, Amanda, and just text me and we can coordinate that. Cool. Did anybody have any questions, concerns, things they're excited about, maybe some partnerships or things that you're already planning?
Do you want us to say in the chat just
No, we can no. You can certainly come off mute. You don't have to stay in the chat.
Yeah, I'm Kenneth Woods. I'm attending Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond. I just want to see. I wanted to try and have a voter registration drive.
Okay.
For the midterms, how would you suggest going about making that happen? You know, on a college campus, making sure that kids in college are engaged, civically engaged.
Got you. One, it's actually fairly easy. And you said your name was Kenneth, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool deal. And no need to call me man, you may feel old. But yeah, so essentially it's really simple to set up a voter registration drive on a college campus. What you want to do is you want to just reach out. I don't know if you already have a relationship with your like local, I know you always have like elected bodies on campuses. Typically that's going to be the Office Diversity Inclusion, Office of Student Development, Student and Youth Outreach. It's always a different title for every school, but whatever school that, whatever division or department that you all have at your local college, what you're going to do is reach out to that president or that leader, or I know a lot of times it's a sponsor, and just ask them for permission. So what you want to do is make sure that you get in writing that it's okay for us to coordinate with you all to set up a nonpartisan voter registration drive. And then we look at dates. And so we can figure out like what makes the most sense. I know I did Southeastern right at 2 years ago during COVID. And so, or when COVID was ramping up. And so I think we did it through the Office of Student Outreach. And so I'm happy to help you connect the dots for us to be able to set that up. But real simple. From there, Kenneth, we literally just like put you on our calendar. We get some of the organizers that are available for the date that you're requesting, come out with our voter registration forms. We have tons, like all the time, literally. Come out with some swag. We can do some digital outreach, do some what am I trying to say, graphics to be able to drum up some support on campus, get you guys to repost that and do some like social blast. And so we can really pump it up, especially during election season. Kids are able to do it right there in real time and on campus. And so we want to make sure that they feel supported beforehand. And of course, let me not forget to mention sample ballots. We always bring that with us as well.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
No problem. And just email me or text me. I put my info in the chat. So whenever you want to kind of connect next week, let's plan to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And Amanda, I see your question in the chat too. You'd like to connect on setting up voter reg at our two colleges, UL and SLCC. That sounds great to me. Again, just text me or email me and we will figure out who's available to come and make that happen. Any other questions, comments, things you all may need support with, or things you're trying to set up currently? And I guess the better question too is like, was this helpful, y'all? I know like I talk fast because I get excited, but did this help someone or give you kind of a better understanding of the ins and outs of voter registration in the state of Louisiana? And I know a lot of y'all are at work, so feel free to thumb up or thumb down, or you could come off mute, Dominique.
Yes, it was it was very helpful, Caitlin.
Okay, good.
I enjoyed it. I wasn't sure about it, but now I feel more comfortable with it.
Good. Good. That makes me happy. Cool.
I know I'm biased, Caitlin. I unmuted to tell you it was helpful, but you were still talking.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dominique. You know, you got to tell me to hush, but okay. I'm glad it was helpful.
Yep, Caitlin, I think you did a really good job. I know I'm biased, but I actually learned something too.
Yay, good job, Morgan. Cool. Well, I know a lot of us are at work, so I won't hold y'all. If y'all have any questions or concerns, feel free. I'll stay on for like another minute or so. If not, we can end this. And oh no, Amanda has a question. So she said, I just want to confirm that no special ID is needed when filling out the paper form without a state ID. Also, if they still have out-of-state ID on election day, can they check in with that, or would they need the special ID at the polls? They will need the special ID at the polls. They will absolutely be stopped, and the Texas ID for Louisiana will never be accepted. So you want to make sure that, yes, when filling out that paper form, they do have that special ID if they don't have a state ID, and especially if they don't have a social security number, because they could have used a social security in lieu of, but you'll need both. And then on election day, they'll need the state ID anyways, the special ID anyways. So they might as well get it while they're doing the voter registration form. And of course, that can be obtained at the Office of Motor Vehicles. Takes about 10 minutes, y'all. They put you in your own special line. You don't even have to wait with everybody else. So make sure that, yeah, I know. And no, that was, it was confusing because essentially it's almost like you could get away with no special ID while you're filling out the form, but you'll be stopped at the polls. So you'll need it no matter what. Cool. I see some thumbs up there. Any other questions? And I'm going to save this chat so I can make sure that I connect with y'all on some of those voter registration drives. Yes, I'm emailing PowerPoint. And so everybody on the line will get that. All right, y'all, I'm not seeing any more questions. So y'all have a great weekend. Be safe out there and look forward to doing work with y'all.
Same to you.
Of course. Oh, she said her entire salon enjoyed. I love it. Okay.